Hi, I'm Alan Hedblum. Welcome to our show, a place to feel like you belong. Today's guest is a man who wears many hats. Dante Villarreal, who is originally from the Texas border, can be seen during the day wearing a business suit. But on evenings and weekends, he dons rubber boots, picks up a pitchfork, and heads out to the barn, but more on that in a moment. Dante's also a very funny guy, as Grand Rapidians know from seeing him pick up a microphone to emcee an event for the West Michigan Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Dante, such a pleasure to welcome you to Feel Like You Belong.
Thank you, Alan, for having me here.
You bet. So tell us a little bit about your family's transition from Mexico to the United States.
Well, as you mentioned, I am from Bronzeville, Texas, from the border area. Parents were from Tamaulipas, which is the state across the Rio Grande. I was born here in the U.S., but at the time my parents did not have a green card to come here. Eventually, about 4 or 5 years after I was born, which I was living in Mexico, they did get a green card, and that's when we started our journey here into the United States. We came here as migrant farm workers, traveling to different states, following the crop harvest, and that's kind of how we ended up here in Michigan.
So your family came to Michigan to pick produce?
Yes, that's right. We would start our year in Florida, in the strawberries, then Georgia, Ohio, and eventually here for the apple harvest every fall here in West Michigan particularly.
Wow. So was Michigan your favorite part of this tour?
It was, and I don't know really why, but I knew that in the fall it's my favorite season. We would do the apple harvest. And then something about West Michigan that really attracted us to stay here. Not only did I settle out, but my parents as well. They stayed here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Eventually. So.
So people just looking at you wouldn't necessarily know this, but you raise and train a very special breed of horse, the Paso Fino.
Yeah, that is correct.
Tell us about that.
So this is a horse that is originally from South America. It's really the first breed developed in the Americas. Comes from 3 different breeds that the Spaniards brought over in the Christopher Columbus days. And this breed is unique because it's a gaited breed. Since they're born, the babies are born, they have a special
This is
gait.
gait as in stepping, not
Exactly.
close the gate.
Correct, yes. So these horses will, typical horses, you get on them and you ride them and you're going to bounce. They're going to trot, and that's going to hurt. Not these horses. These are very smooth horses. They're fine stepping gait, and that's what Paso Fino means in Spanish. Fine stepping allows you to cruise along without having to post or to trot, and that makes them very comfortable. And they're beautiful horses.
Sort of like built-in shock absorbers.
Exactly. They're the Cadillac of the horse world. So very smooth.
Yeah. So tell us about the Villa Maria Stables.
So Villa Maria Stables, named after my late mother. Maria. We started the stable back in around 2002 with our first horse. So it was really a backyard operation in Conklin, northeast of here. And then eventually, a few years later, we moved to Byron Center. That's where we have now a 40-stall barn. About 20% about 20 of those horses there are Paso Finos. We train them, we breed them, we compete them. We just got back from the Grand National Championship show in Kentucky, representing the Great Lakes states, and I'm very happy to say that we did real good. We brought back 3 championships. So
congratulations!
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now your experience with horses and horse riding had some very humble roots with your grandfather.
True. Yes, true.
Tell us about that.
It didn't start with the fine stepping horse. It actually started with the donkeys. My grandfather is from a region in Mexico that's a very poor region. That's where my father grew up, and every time we'd go visit, of course, their mode of transportation was horses. but our family couldn't afford horses, so my grandfather actually had mules and donkeys, and so that's where I started riding. But nonetheless, the passion grew from there, because I'd get on that little donkey and just go out and ride into the woods, and it was just great, great feeling.
So, and now you've graduated from the Chevy
donkeys.
of four-legged transportation to the Cadillac.
More like the Yugo. Yugo to the Cadillac.
Whatever gets you around.
That's right, that's right.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So, as we mentioned earlier, some of the times you're actually wearing a business suit. So
True.
you work for I have to actually look at this, the MISBDC, the Michigan Small Business Development Center.
That's correct.
What do you do there?
So this center is housed at Grand Valley State University. What we do is we work with entrepreneurs. Anyone who's looking to start a business or grow their existing businesses, we'll meet with them one-on-one, we'll consult them, we'll help them create a strategy, a business plan, market research, the financials. Everything's to give them the opportunity to be successful in business. And that's part of the university.
Okay. And there are actually several of these centers around the state.
That's correct. It's a statewide organization. We're housed at our local host here is Grand Valley, but we actually have 11 different offices throughout the state.
Sure, sure. Now, as a person who is bilingual, do you find you're often helping people who are primary Spanish speakers with their business development?
In the beginning, more than now. Now, because I oversee the program, I don't have a lot of time to work with clients, but without a doubt, the Spanish-speaking community is very entrepreneurial. You know, a lot of entrepreneurs were successful in their home country. They come here, and now they need to relearn how to be successful. A little bit different.
The rules of business change.
Exactly, exactly. So that we do see a lot of Spanish-speaking entrepreneurs.
Awesome. And in parallel to that, you're also very active with the West Michigan Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
That is correct.
Currently the chairman of the board of directors.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So what do you do in that role?
So my role is to really work with the executive team and provide support to the executive director, Veronica Ramirez, and help craft strategy and help take our chamber to an organization that is really serving the membership. And who is the membership? It's the small Hispanic Latino businesses. So we are, in a way, listening. How can we better serve these small Hispanic businesses? So that's really the role that I play. Do
you have a favorite success story?
You know, any success story is a favorite. Some that I'd like to share is those entrepreneurs that have everything stacked up against them, but are successful, create a strategy, learn how to be the manager they need to be, the salesperson they need to be, wear the different hats, and overcome adversity. And now
what are some of the obstacles or adversities that they come with?
Aside from the language barriers and so on, it's really the typical problems that any entrepreneur will face. How do I fund this project? Okay. How do I access financing? How can I tell the story to the bank for them to have faith in me, to let me put this together and make it happen? So all that just requires a different skill set that we try to bring to the table, and we help them craft that message.
Okay. Okay. You just recently had some good news. You and your wife Anna are expecting a little boy.
We are. We're very excited.
Yeah,
very
congratulations
excited.
on that.
Thank you.
So tell us, what are your hopes for this young fellow?
So my hopes is that, of course, he grows up to be a fun-loving young man that can also have a little place in his heart to know that those of us that take a few steps forward also turn back and help those people to take some steps forward. So if that happens, I'll be a very, very happy man.
Sure, sure. So service orientation, which is what you have become a part of in this community as you've come here.
And I think that's one of the reasons that I stuck in this community, because when I came here, I was the recipient of many services, from the social workers to the food stamp programs to the migrant education programs. How can you not feel part of something when somebody's reaching out to you? So when you have an opportunity to do the same thing, I think we owe it to our community to give a little back.
Well, that's awesome. I know that Grand Rapids is very glad that you came here, felt welcome enough to stay, and then now are able to use your skills and your abilities to turn around and welcome people.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I always like to ask people, what creates belonging for them? What, for you, this is not your community of origin, but you chose this place, you stay here, so it's really working for you. How does that work?
So what creates belonging for me, it's really is the people. West Michigan in general has great people that value work ethic, that value relationships, value community, and you feel a sense of belonging when you feel you're a part of that. It's not the same to, you buy a home and go to work, your kids go to school, but if you don't feel that you're given that opportunity to make it yourself, meaning give back, you don't find the sense of belonging. So for me, it is having that opportunity to play a role in what West Michigan is going to look like in 10 years. And that's important. That's important.
The shape and flavor of the Michigan population and the national population is changing. In 2042, my understanding is folks of European descent will no longer be in the majority. Okay, what are your dreams or visions for that day?
So I don't see it as a day that a day of triumph or success, and because it really doesn't matter the composition. What matters is that anyone, regardless of race, skin color, socioeconomic status, has opportunities and are willing and able and have the desire to take advantage of those opportunities. For me, that's when I'll know that, wow, this community has come a long way. Everyone has access, and everybody somehow has that desire to take advantage of those opportunities.
So everyone has a place at the table.
Exactly, regardless of background.
Sure. Yeah. Dante, it's been such a pleasure having you here on the show today. Thanks so much for coming by.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I bet. For our folks back home, stay tuned, because in just a moment we'll be coming back with some tips on American English, American culture, and a little humor. Americans make a judgment about the person they meet based not only on his or her language and behavior, but also on such details as facial expressions and a perceived warmth. To ensure a first meeting with an American business person goes well, here are some basics to keep in mind. Remembering names. An old proverb says, "The sweetest sound to the human ear is that of one's own name." If you are able to recall a name later in the conversation or in future meetings, you signal to the other person that you value knowing him or her and have made the effort to remember his or her name. For this purpose, insert the name in the conversation several times before saying goodbye. For example, "How long have you lived in Hong Kong, Rebecca?" Making a comment, for example, "Wow, Doug, that's a great tie. Did you find it here in the city?" If the person comes from a different background, the name may be unusual to you. If you don't understand the name upon introduction, immediately ask for help, since repetition is crucial. "I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you say that name again?" If you don't catch it a second time, apologize for not hearing it and ask the person to maybe spell it. This may lead to an interesting conversation about the person's name and background. For example, "I've never heard the name Headbloom before. Is it common in the United States?" Saying goodbye. Farewells provide one last chance to practice a new person's name. Be sure to include it. For example, "It was nice to meet you, Samuel. I look forward to seeing you again soon." If there was something particularly interesting in the conversation, you may close with this: "Sarah, I look forward to continuing our conversation about, say, World Cup soccer." Or, "I enjoyed hearing your thoughts on say, student scholarships. Americans may not shake hands on subsequent greeting, especially if they meet each other fairly often. However, it's appropriate to shake hands in farewell after the first meeting. If the conversation has gone particularly well, or a special warmth was felt, the handshakes may be accompanied by 1 or 2 pats of the left palm on the person's shoulder or upper arm when saying goodbye. If you feel a particular closeness to the other person after this conversation, the double-handed handshake can also communicate special warmth. So there you have it. 7 tips on making a good first impression. If you have other questions on interacting with Americans, send them to us via our website, Facebook, or Twitter. Who knows? Maybe we will feature your question in a future segment. Take care now. Here's a riddle for you. How do you know a clock is hungry? Give up? Because it goes back 4 seconds.